Good evening, I'm Adrian Arsenault.
And I'm Andrew Chang. Tonight, it has come a long way since first making landfall, but Ida continues to deliver a powerful punch.
Ida beating everybody up.
What the New York City area felt and why it's a sign of things to come.
Also tonight, is Alberta heading for a COVID crisis?
Sooner or later, Jason Kenney is going to have to take responsibility.
Are Albertans ready for a vaccine passport?
Why this federal campaign might be a turning point for mental health policy.
It takes a weight off of people's shoulders to be able to talk more, to deal with it.
If you change your mind, take a chance.
And they've been pop star royalty since the 70s.
As long as Dancing Queen comes back on, we're good. Now
They're in their 70s, making music again together. This is The National.
Well, millions of Americans woke up this morning to scenes of utter destruction. Overnight, the remnants of Hurricane Ida slammed the Northeast.
The rain and wind were lethal. Tonight, at least 43 people from Maryland to New York are dead, many in their own flooded homes. The region was warned about the potential of flooding, but no one had braced for such a blow. And this is what the morning after looks like. Manhole covers rattled by the relentless storm, going anywhere by any means a new challenge. Carolyn Dunn takes us through.
For some today, the only way out was up. Many of those rescued trying to focus on what was saved.
I know we lost everything, but materialistic everything, that you can just repair, but family you can't bring back.
Ida's second act, record rainfall in record time, causing deadly flash flooding. Some drowned in their cars. Others couldn't get out of basement apartments or homes before the water rushed in. A frightening and sudden end.
No idea that such a horrible fate could befall them. Families in mourning right now. We need to be there for them.
Ida laid bare how ill-prepared infrastructure in the mid-Atlantic states is to withstand such a storm. From powerful waterfalls in New York's underground subways to crews trying but failing to keep storm drains clear.
Ida beating everybody up.
Fueled by climate change, storms are more frequent and stronger than ever.
It broke a record literally set 1 week earlier. That says to me that there are no more cataclysmic, unforeseeable events.
Yo, this is crazy.
A terrifying thought for anyone who has witnessed any of the tornadoes that spun out of Ida.
It was pretty quick. Wind, maybe 5 minutes, and then just everything was decimated.
I looked out and I saw my furniture just whoosh. My backyard furniture just went, and then we just went down the basement, and then it just went through the back of my house.
Now they're left to pick up the pieces of what remains, while urgent calls for rescue continue and the death toll climbs. Carolyn Dunn, CBC News, Washington.
So this is where we need some help. CBC meteorologist Johanna Wagstaff always has that insight into these events. Johanna, so if Ida was thousands of kilometers from where it first made landfall, why was it so devastating last night?
Well, Adrian, tropical storms after landfall can pack a second punch. It's not uncommon, especially in late summer when they interact with other systems already in place. But climate change means these kinds of events are becoming more common. Warmer atmosphere can hold more moisture, and that means more potential for these kinds of extreme weather events. In fact, global warming has already increased extreme rainfall events, especially for the eastern U.S. Throw on top of that the fact that this region has already seen record rains from Tropical Storm Henry just 11 days earlier. Urban sprawl means poor drainage. All of these factors coming together for the impacts from just incredible rainfall rates never seen before. 83 millimeters in 1 hour. But yeah, Adrian, these records not likely to stand as our atmosphere continues to warm.
And so where is this storm now?
Take a look at the satellite and radar. It's actually pulling through Atlantic Canada. We saw intense flooding across all 3 maritime provinces earlier today. It's pushing out of the Maritimes into Newfoundland for tomorrow, leaving behind road closures, 60 to 100 millimeters of rain. So not quite as intense as south of the border, but still big impacts Adrian, tomorrow night is when Ida finally moves out to the open ocean.
And Johanna, you were saying previously in conversations we've had in the past, this summer has represented galvanizing moments, right?
This summer has been incredible, both here in Canada and around the world. It's been a turning point, I think, for people realizing that weather is our connection to climate change. And unfortunately, this is one more of those moments.
All right, Johanna Wagstaff in Vancouver tonight. Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
And 4 days after Ida swept through the Gulf Coast, the situation there remains dire. More than 1 million homes and businesses still without power.
We need to be rescued right now. We need ice. We don't have no electricity. We're barely surviving through this heat.
There are long lines for food, water, and fuel, supplies of which are dwindling, and it could be weeks before power is fully restored. The U.S. president is expected to visit the region tomorrow, where many have lost everything.
Turning to Canada's COVID-19 story now, and as summer slowly winds down, the fourth wave is ramping up. Canada reported over 4,000 new cases today. That's more than 5 times the count from a month ago. Most are in the 4 biggest provinces, led by Alberta, where some fear things are out of control. Its active infection rate now 3 times the national average. Also troubling, the jump in severe cases. 90 people in hospital a month ago, now close to 500. 19 people in ICUs then, now there are more than 100. BC, Ontario, and Quebec have vaccine passports, or soon will. Alberta's premier, not seen publicly in weeks, is still holding out, citing concerns over privacy. So how does that match the public mood? Aaron Collins looks at where Albertans stand on the issue.
Over morning coffee in Calgary, the idea of vaccine passports, a hot topic.
I think it's a good idea just for the safety of the general population and also people at risk who aren't able to get the vaccine.
But in Alberta, restricting freedoms, any freedoms, always a tough sell.
I don't think it's right. We've got a freedom of choice. I'm fully vaccinated. That was my freedom. I don't like identifying other people who disagree with me. Let them go.
The official opposition is on board, calling for a passport system to be up and running by the end of the month, criticizing the premier for dragging his feet.
Alberta is leading the country in cases, and that is because we led the country in recklessness. And, sooner or later, Jason Kenney is going to have to take responsibility for that.
For his part, the premier hasn't appeared in public in weeks, on vacation as COVID cases spiked, before popping up on Facebook last night, hinting some action on COVID is coming before the end of the week.
And that doesn't mean vaccine passports, in my view, but it means please people, if you're not getting vaccinated, please act responsibly.
It's a position that baffles this political watcher.
It's perplexing that he's been silent for so long, and it's also perplexing that he seems to be focusing on a strategy to please the anti-vaxxers.
And there are worries this fourth wave could soon overwhelm Alberta's healthcare system.
We are tired of it, but the reality is we will get there, and we will, exceed hospital capacity in the coming weeks unless something changes.
But as COVID cases continue to surge, Albertans continue to wait for something, anything from a government missing in action for weeks. Aaron Collins, CBC News, Calgary.
Some good news in Ontario. Health officials here say there has been an uptick in vaccination appointments. Just yesterday, the province announced it would bring in a vaccine passport this month. And Ontario's health minister says bookings for a COVID vaccine more than doubled on Wednesday, and thousands more lined up for shots today. 77% of the province's eligible population is fully vaccinated.
A new study published in the medical journal The Lancet found that being fully vaccinated not only cuts the risk of catching the COVID-19 virus, it also reduces the risk of experiencing lingering symptoms in that rare event of an infection, what's known as long COVID.
A Mohawk community near Montreal has declared a red alert over spiking COVID-19 cases. Ganawage is seeing an unprecedented surge. Active cases have now hit at least 31. That's doubling in just 2 days. About 70% of people in Ganawage are fully vaccinated. That is lower than the Quebec provincial average. Now, for more on the COVID picture in Canada, we have Dr. Lenora Saxinger here with us, an infectious diseases specialist in Edmonton. And Dr. Saxinger, I mean, clearly the message here is that more people need to get vaccinated to prevent disaster in the fourth wave. But for the majority of Canadians, you know, who have already gotten their shots, what would you have them keep in mind?
Well, I mean, I think that people should still recognize that two-dose vaccination from a couple of weeks after the second dose offers excellent protection against hospitalization and severe disease, but it basically can also convert COVID to a cold. And so you yourself could develop symptoms. And during that time, although we think it's less likely that you would spread disease after vaccination, you still could spread and transmit disease during that time. So I think while things are really starting to ramp up across the country, people can just still be choosy about, you know, their activities and still take those basic precautions, because I think all of that will still help in stemming the tide of Delta that we're seeing right now.
And can I ask you, you know, when you do look forward, what worries you the most? Is it you know, the prospect of another lockdown? Is it ICU overload? What is it?
Well, I mean, what we're seeing here is that the case numbers are still translating into high hospitalizations and high ICU rates, and the healthcare system is kind of starting at a much fuller place right now. And that is deeply concerning, because I can see that even if things turn around very quickly, a lot of places we're going to have a lot of difficulty delivering healthcare. And the fact that this is happening during a time when we know how to prevent the disease and we have effective vaccination is especially difficult, I think, for people to take.
Dr. Saxinger, thank you very much.
Let's turn to the election. At this very moment in Montreal, the leaders of the main parties are facing off in the first of 3 debates. This one is in French. And our chief political correspondent, Rosie Barton, has been following along. So, Rosie, this is our first look at them together in this campaign. What's your sense of the tone?
Yeah, as you said, the first time we've seen these 4 in a debate. It's the very first time that Erin O'Toole has done an election debate at all. Remember, the race in Quebec is really mostly between the Liberals and the Bloc Québécois, so perhaps those are the 2 leaders that had the most to gain or lose here. But listen, the NDP and Conservative leaders have been holding their own, even with language challenges, and their need really to introduce themselves to the province of Quebec. There were, not surprisingly, Adrian, lots of exchanges as very particular to Quebec about identity, language, and respecting jurisdictions. Mr. Blanchette, for instance, needs to make the case to Quebecers that a vote for the Bloc Québécois is still worthwhile when it comes to defending the province. Obviously, he's hoping for a minority government because that makes it an easier case for him. So the Bloc leader pushed Erin O'Toole very, very hard on the issue of childcare and whether he would still give Quebec the $6 billion promised by Justin Trudeau with his daycare plan that Mr. O'Toole plans to cancel. Mr. O'Toole didn't commit to that, only to coordinate with the Quebec Premier, which he did not explain. So lots of back and forth on that issue.
So people watch these debates, obviously, to see some sparks fly sometimes, certainly for policy too, but for the sparks. What's your gut about the best exchanges?
Yeah, there have been some good ones. Listen, Justin Trudeau is very much on the offensive, and that really speaks to where the polls are right now, really neck and neck between him and Mr. O'Toole. Mr. O'Toole has remained very calm throughout all of this so far. A couple of good exchanges, though, all of the leaders pressing Justin Trudeau to justify why we're having this election anyway. Mr. Trudeau saying, listen, we can't stop democracy just because there's 20% of Canadians who are not yet vaccinated. A very spicy exchange between Mr. Trudeau and Mr. O'Toole on health care. Mr. O'Toole is going to increase healthcare transfers in a very big way, but he's also suggested that he's open to innovation, i.e. private healthcare coming in. And Mr. Trudeau pressed very hard for a clear answer from the Conservative leader there, which he didn't get, but it told you a lot just in the things that Mr. O'Toole didn't say.
All right, thank you, Rosie. You get back to the debate. We'll catch up the next hour.
Sounds good.
So stay with CBC News for continuing coverage as Canada votes, including the federal leaders' English debate, live from the Canadian Museum of History in Gatineau, Quebec, next Thursday. That's September the 9th, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern. Then we will break it all down in a special edition of The National with Chief Political Correspondent Rosemary Barton, our CBC News team, and of course, At Issue.
Now, for many Canadians, the pandemic has put a spotlight on mental health. We've heard so many stories of people struggling themselves or with a loved one who is. And on the campaign trail, the main parties have taken notice, and each has been quick to talk about what they would do to help. Anna Thibodeau explains.
Christian Spilfogel spent more than a decade
trying to get his daughter proper mental health treatment.
I almost felt helpless, actually.
She tried to take her life many times.
She did cutting. She would try and overdose. Sorry. Yeah, it was difficult. Sorry.
He's relieved to see each of the main parties make mental health a priority.
Dedicated Canada Mental Health Transfer.
The Liberals are promising to create a mental health transfer, $4.5 billion over 5 years, and $500 million to help hire 1,200 new counselors at post-secondary schools.
We will start by investing billions in public health care.
The Conservatives say they would invest $60 billion over 10 years for health care, though how much for mental health would be up to each province. It's also promising a 25% tax credit to encourage employers to add coverage to their employee benefit plans.
We want to see our healthcare system include mental health.
The NDP has promised to make mental health care available to all Canadians and are promising to support struggling parents.
I can't tell you how desperate I am or how exhausted I am.
Jesse Green's son suffered a mental health crisis in March after multiple pleas for help.
Just barely speaking, not eating, not sleeping, pacing the floors, almost catatonic.
She hopes the campaign promises turn into real action.
I'd like to see actual advocacy for every single psych patient.
Spilfogel says he's glad all the political leaders are talking seriously about mental health.
That they acknowledge that they have these same issues within their families helps reduce the stress in other families to be able to say, me too.
With the ongoing strain of the COVID-19 pandemic, Canada has so many more families who need the help. Hannah Thibodeau, CBC News, Ottawa.
A ground search for a missing 3-year-old boy continues tonight in Quebec. Jake Cote was allegedly abducted by his father on Tuesday, about 6 hours north of Montreal. He was wearing jeans, beige boots, and a blue T-shirt with some silver stripes. His father is described as 5'7", about 180 pounds. Police say he could be armed.
When the Taliban retook Afghanistan, it presented new challenges for a neighbor. During last month's chaos, Pakistan tried to seal off the busiest border crossing with that country. There is still a lot of uncertainty, but commercial goods and some people continue to cross. Susan Ormiston is in Pakistan to give us a first-hand view.
This convoy of trucks has just left Afghanistan, bringing fresh produce into Pakistan. We've seen things like tomatoes and onions and cotton goods, all coming from the border crossing just about a kilometer down this valley, a very important economic link for both countries. And it is open now, but there's long lineups, sometimes days of lineups of these trucks trying to go back and forth. How does he feel about the Taliban taking a new government?
Everything fine there. The government is good because we used to pay money, but now we can free.
We were down there for a couple of hours today, and we saw just a trickle of Afghans coming into Pakistan. The country has said with 1.5 million refugees here already, they can't handle tens of thousands more, so they're only letting in those for medical emergencies or who have business on either side of the border. The UN is warning of a humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan, and this kind of commerce going in is a critical link, especially with the airport closed. So these trucks are going into Afghanistan. We saw young boys down at that border hiding in the wheel wells of trucks coming from Afghanistan. Once into Pakistan, they jump off with bags of what looked like produce over their shoulders to go sell in the market. The UN is warning that up to 500,000 Afghans may try to flee their country by the end of this year. They'll be trying to get to land borders like this, but in many places they're blocked from moving on. Susan Ormiston, CBC News at the Torkham border crossing in Pakistan.
For post-secondary students, this fall was supposed to bring a return to campus life. Why, for many, that is now up in the air.
It's a bit of a dumpster fire, really.
So they said it's going to be in person, and well, we're going to see.
Up next, how rising cases have universities and colleges changing plans.
And later, it's the midway point in the election. Rosie and the At Issue panel look at where the campaign could be heading next.
Plus, a reunion 40 years in the making.
Honey, I'm still free. Take a chance on me.
Music royalty taking a chance on a big comeback. We're back in 2. Health officials in BC are warning against the use of ivermectin to treat COVID-19. They say that in the past 6 months, 9 people have taken the veterinary version of the drug. None had a serious reaction. Ivermectin is often used to deworm horses and livestock. It has been used in humans, but studies show it's not effective nor recommended against COVID-19.
Got tested, and turns out I got COVID. So we immediately threw the kitchen sink at it. All kinds of meds, monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin.
And so that is podcast host Joe Rogan telling his millions of followers he has taken ivermectin to treat COVID-19. The 54-year-old tested positive this week. It's unclear if Rogan is vaccinated, but he's been dismissive of getting the shots. Canada's 4th pandemic wave has largely meant uncertainty for many post-secondary students. Institutions are scrambling to solidify their COVID-19 plans, but last-minute changes are fueling a sense of frustration amongst the students. Deanna Sumanek-Johnson spoke with some of them.
With less than a week to the start of his university's fall semester, Matthew Lee still doesn't know if he'll be going to class in person or online.
If I could tell you, I would tell you, but I don't know until September 8th, I believe. Whatever the first day of school is.
His frustration shared by many students across the country.
It's a bit of a dumpster fire, really. So they said it's going to be in person, and well, we're going to see, and then now it's just a free-for-all.
Many post-secondary students have already paid for housing near their campuses, an unnecessary expense if classes go strictly online. For international students, the costs are even greater.
I spoke to many other students online that have been going through the same situation. They paid for quarantine, 2 weeks, they paid for their flight here, and most of their classes were also switched to an online format.
But some universities are proceeding with in-person classes despite the rising cases of the Delta variant. At University of Toronto, faculty members say they're worried, upset and angered after the Ontario government unexpectedly removed restrictions on post-secondary class sizes and social distancing. Quebec already relaxed some of those rules. This student says her first class yesterday made her feel unsafe.
This person sitting next to me, their mask was, right below their nose for most of class.
This college administrator says all the disappointment could have been avoided by planning cautiously and making firm decisions about classroom plans much earlier.
You just have to be very careful about raising expectations about what you're able to deliver safely, and that's been our driver from day one.
With so many post-secondary institutions shifting gears now, some students are looking to have their tuitions partially refunded, while others push for schools to honor their original in-class commitment. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, the explosion that sent 7 people to hospital in southwest Ontario last week could happen again. Mounds of debris are being cleaned up at the explosion site that destroyed 2 buildings. An abandoned gas well is believed to have caused it, and experts say thousands of similar wells are scattered across Ontario and could pose a risk. Residents in a 2-block radius of the site are still out of their homes.
It is a comeback fans could only dream about for decades, but that changed today. Coming up, the supergroup reunion with a futuristic twist.
But first, Rosie's back with At Issue.
Hey, Andrew, tonight we're going to talk about the Liberal Party's platform and the political reaction to it.
Mr. Trudeau called the election and just recycled some promises he's already failed to deliver on.
Midway through the campaign, which leader is reaching Canadians with their message and their policies? Chantal, Andrew, Althea, and Elamine will join all of us right after this. With 18 days to go until Election Day, this campaign has officially reached its midway point. 4 parties have unveiled their platforms, each making their pitch to voters. This week, the Liberal Party shared its plan.
This is the plan that Canada needs to be even more ambitious.
But the Conservatives and the NDP questioned just how new this plan really was.
Mr. Trudeau called the election and just recycled some promises he's already failed to deliver on.
Why deliver on things when you can just campaign on it anyways?
So what's behind the timing of this platform, or any of them for that matter? How is it all playing out on the campaign trail? It's Thursday. I'm here with At Issue, Chantal Hébert, Andrew Coyne, Althea Raj, and Elamine Abdelmahmoud. I'm sure you heard the joy in my voice when I said we're midway through. It's very exciting. But let's start with the timing of this platform release. We talked about the Conservatives when they released it on day 2. Andrew, let me start with you tonight. Was it the right move for the Liberals to wait until the midway point? The fact that theirs is costed, the others aren't. What did you make of it?
I think it would have been a good move if there was much new in it. When it kind of comes out, and we've heard all this before, either as was just said in the last election or in the budget or in the days and weeks prior to this, it looks a little bit like a damp squib. More than that, I don't think it really has really moved the needle. When you look at the Conservative platform, it did a lot of things for the Conservatives. It reintroduced people to Erin O'Toole. It established them as having, kind of normal guy preoccupations in terms of meat and potatoes issues rather than culture wars. And it just got them into the game. I'm not sure it reached out, for example, to people who weren't already in their base, which has always been the problem with Conservatives. I'm not sure the Liberal platform is going to do any of that for them. It mostly is going to reinforce people who are already going to vote Liberal in their determination to vote Liberal, but I'm not sure it's going to expand their vote any. They seem to have contracted a bit of the Tory disease in that regard.
Chantal, what did you make of the timing, and what was there?
This time last year, we were discussing what big ticket items would be in the throne speech. Then 6 months ago, we were all talking about what big ticket items would be in the budget. So to expect a Liberal platform to look very different would have been asking for a lot, and up to a point, except for the costing, which I believe is one item on which they caught the Conservatives off guard. It kind of walks them back into their trap, because you kind of look at whatever is new in there, and not a lot of it is, and you say, well, you did have a mandate that stretched for another 2 years. So you could have done all these things between now and the next election.
There was $78 billion in new spending. I don't know whether that required an election to go forward, given how much they spent through the pandemic, Althea. What stood out for you there?
Well, I agree with everything that was said. I think Chantal's point is basically that they could have introduced all these measures, and there's many measures in a throne speech, for example, and likely the NDP would have supported them. I mean, there are a few new things that I think are designed to appeal to some segments of the voter base that some of the Conservative policies, for example, I think of the gig workers. The Liberals have a very similar plan to the Tories' plan on gig workers, but mostly for Canadians in rural areas, for young people, students, or people just coming out from post-secondary education. There are new measures there that I think are designed to make sure they don't bleed to other political parties. I think the costing was really important. Just to show that compare and contrast. I think it's completely natural that this platform is an extension of what the Liberals have been talking about for 2 years. It would have been a shocker if it wasn't. Is it enough to change the tide? Probably would have been to their benefit to release it earlier, so candidates knocking on doors would have had something to talk about.
What do you think, Elamine? Is it enough to push them into it, for them to get some momentum, I guess, because that's partly what this was supposed to do as well?
No, not at all. I mean, are we going to be talking about this over the weekend? Or are people going to be talking about this, over the long weekend? No, I don't think so. It is not that kind of platform. Having said that, I think the expectations of wanting one shiny thing in this platform were not set by us. It was set by the Prime Minister when he launched his campaign, when he began this whole campaign by saying, this is a really important big moment. And so that's going to demand some important big thing. Well, what is that thing? We are sitting here halfway through this campaign, and that thing has not popped up. It is not in that platform. I think you're right to mention the $78 billion in new spending. I think that is something that people will pick up on in terms of saying this Liberal government is not going to be shy about spending money. But I think, if you thought they were shy about spending money, I don't know where you've been for the past 2 years.
Okay, so if the platform isn't the thing, is some of the messaging we're hearing on the campaign trail the thing? And I want to play this clip of the Liberal leader in Sudbury this week, where again he faced, very, violent but threatening protesters, let's say vocal protesters, and his response was a little bit different. And I would like to hear your take on it. Here's what he said.
Canadians made incredible sacrifices over the past year and a half, and Erin O'Toole is siding with them instead of with Canadians who did their part and stepped up.
Andrew, what do you make now of how the Liberals seem to be using these protests for their political advantage?
It's a pretty standard political play. If you're the subject of some terrible attack, you try to make yourself the mantle of dignity and resolve. I'm not sure they're going to succeed in what is evidently an attempt to turn the election into a referendum on anti-vax protesters. It'd be easy if one of the other parties was actually siding with these people, or indeed if these people were actually supporting any of the major parties. I would suspect they're probably fans of the People's Party. So Liberals are trying hard to do this, to try and connect this to the Conservatives. I don't think they're going to be successful in it, and particularly I don't think they're going to wipe away everything else that the election is about to just focus on this one issue.
Chantal.
I suspect that Ontario Premier Doug Ford, although it was a bit of a clumsy rollout by going for vaccine passports, kind of took a lot of energy out of the Liberal attack, because it would have been tempting to say, well, you know, you can tell Erin O'Toole is with those people because look at all the Conservative premiers, except the premier of the largest province has just decided to have passports, vaccine passports, not coming across as someone who's saying, I don't really care that people are vaccinated. So I think this week, despite the clumsiness from Queen's Park, Erin O'Toole got an assist from Premier Ford.
Except Erin O'Toole, I'm not sure how clear he's been on vaccine passports, but we sure know that he's not in favor of mandatory vaccination. He wants people to be able to choose. And I wonder if there isn't room there for the Liberals, Althea, to continue making that point.
Well, the Liberals were hoping that part of the ballot question was going to be, who do you trust to finish the fight against COVID? Right. And the anti-vaxxers fit into that theme, and they fit into the theme perfectly for Justin Trudeau. So it's like he's inherited this perfect foil. And yes, the Conservatives, especially on Friday, they sent out a statement, and Mr. O'Toole has distanced himself, you know, encouraging people to get vaccinated. But could he do more to suggest that this type of action is not acceptable, that these threats are not acceptable, that everybody should get vaccinated? I mean, just talking about the anti-vaxxers protest allows the Liberals to remind voters that Erin O'Toole is not in favor of having mandatory vaccinations on planes and trains. And most people, public opinion polls suggest, are on side with the Liberals on that question. Yeah. So will people have that in mind when they go to the ballot box? I don't know.
Elamine, last point to you.
I will say that it speaks volumes that even during the rollout of that platform, you know, Trudeau was speaking immediately about those mandatory vaccines. And it's because they do want to return to that topic. It is the thing that got them a few headlines and a few, you know, a bit of momentum right at the very start of the campaign. And so the idea of returning to that, yeah, it's like there's something there. And after trying lots of things for a week and a half, there was just not a lot there. So it makes sense that they would return to this, but also at the same time, I'm not sure that Erin O'Toole is the person that they're trying to paint him to be, or at least I think he's going to be able to say that fairly loudly and then kind of put this to bed on his end.
Okay, we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back with another round of At Issue, and this time we're going to talk debates. From performance to substance, with a race this close, do these events matter more than ever? That's all straight ahead.
We give you the tools. You make the choice. CBC provides everything you need to make an informed decision on Election Day. It's your future, so join the conversation. Informed by you. Canada Votes 2021.
After meeting with Canadians on the campaign trail, the leaders now have several opportunities to face each other. 3 debates will take place between tonight and next Thursday, 2 in French and 1 in English. So how important are these for the leaders? Chantal, Andrew, Althea, and Elamine join me for another quick round of At Issue. It seems like, we always say this, but it seems like debates matter because that's when people watch and maybe they tune in, they get an idea. And if the debate is good, it maybe can be a moment for a leader. Because the race seems so tight, does it matter in a different way? Who has the most to lose or win in this, Althea?
Debates do matter. If you look at 2019, the Andrew Scheer's performance during the TVA debate really kind of sunk his party, and you saw the Bloc Québécois rise. Probably the person who has the most to lose is the Liberal leader. He called this election. There's a lot on the line for him, including his political future. So I guess those would be my answers to your questions.
Elamine, do you think that there is like extra pressure given that, I'm not sure everyone was paying attention up until these debate moments?
And I'm not sure anybody's paying attention going into this weekend either. But I will have to say that, at least at this stage, you can only lose. You can only lose in tonight's debate. And is there anything to be won? Yeah, and just sort of appearing to be competent and not the sort of villain that other parties are painting you to be. But debates are these kind of minefield where there's a lot more to lose than there is to win. And so I'm glad that these parties agree to them. But God, this particular round, I think is going to be quite treacherous.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be doing them for sure. No. Chantal, given all the debates you've seen in this race, do you think that there is, more significance or is this potentially more of a turning point?
Okay, a couple of points. I believe the campaign is at a tipping point, yes. So the debates matter. I also believe that a lot of people are not paying as much attention as they will. And what's been happening over that period is that Erin O'Toole has gone from non-starter to prospective prime minister. Mm-hmm. And so the buzz going in the debate is a lot more positive about Erin O'Toole than anything they could have hoped for. It also means that on all those debates, there will be more scrutiny and attention paid to the Conservative leader than there might otherwise have been. That makes him the person who has the most to gain, but who is also the least known quantity on the debates. In the case of the French language debates, I actually believe that the one who has the most to lose is Yves-François Blanchet from the Bloc Québécois, because his campaign has not been doing well. No. It doesn't really transpire a lot in English, but he has gone from misstep to misstep to misstep, including the body language misstep when people start saying, I don't like this guy. And on that basis, he needs to come across as a nicer person over those French debates.
Yeah, it's been fascinating to watch. There have been direct questions to him about whether he's too arrogant, which is not really the kind of question you want to have to field. Andrew, what do you think?
Debates are always important, probably more important than they should be, but I can think of countless elections where they've really moved the numbers. Sure. I think particularly in this case, some section of the public has been paying attention to this election now. You wouldn't see the movement we've seen in the polls if they hadn't, but there's a lot of people who are just tuning in now. In an election that is so tight, and an election in which there's no really defining, dominating issue, then the personalities and characters of the leaders are going to be extremely important. And I think all of them have a lot to gain or lose. Justin Trudeau, it's his opportunity to try to explain what this election was called for, which I think has really hurt him through the first half of the election campaign, is the perception that it was just all an opportunistic play. Erin O'Toole, who has made some yards with some voters in the early part of this election, but is still introducing himself to a lot of people. And Jagmeet Singh, who is his party's biggest asset right now. He is more popular than the other leaders, but who hasn't really had a chance to get into the middle of the conversation of this election until now. Now he's going to be on stage with all the others, and if he still has that appeal to people, he'll be able to deploy that to his advantage.
Okay, well, good news. You're all going to be back here next Thursday after the debate until the wee hours to help us figure out what we just saw. So thanks for setting it up, and I'll see you back here next Thursday.
Okay, Rosie, and what are you working on for this Sunday's Rosemary Barton Live?
You know, Andrew, I'm sure you guys have talked about it on the show, but climate change continues to be an issue that voters want to hear more about as they, compare the different policies. So we're going to look at that with the three main parties and talk to a real voter about why that could be really the determining factor in their choice.
Okay, thanks, Rosie.
Thanks.
Well, if this election campaign doesn't exactly make you feel like dancing, here is something that might. Up next, the long-awaited reunion and the high-tech performance to go with it.
It's the ultimate sand sculpting showdown.
Go big or go home. We're coming for ya!
I want to win! But their toughest opponent is sweet Mother Nature. It's not just a beach battle, it's a race against the tide.
I'm Jamie Poisson, and tomorrow on CBC's daily news podcast, Front Burner, how a mysterious noise frustrating an affluent Alberta community led to the discovery of a secretly set up cryptocurrency mine. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
You know you're singing along. Nearly 40 years after breaking up, 70s supergroup Abba is getting the band back together. ABBA's music stood up long after they broke up. Now they've got a new album and they've announced a series of concerts with a bit of a twist. As Chris Brown shows us, fans couldn't be happier.
Dancing queens and ABBA fans everywhere had been teased a reunion of Bjorn, Benny, Frida, and Agneta could happen, but then nothing for years, until today. First, a splashy global launch on YouTube, and then the release of the first new ABBA song in almost 40 years. This one is Still Have Faith in You.
I still have faith in you.
A new album of 10 songs is out in November with a stage performance of sorts to follow after that.
We were in London 3 years ago. I said to Bjorn, do you think it's very clever if we try to tour this thing? Because it's technically immensely complicated.
The performance will be digital, with the group using 160 cameras to capture the movements of the foursome, which will then be projected onto a stage in a specially designed London venue. Social media platforms such as TikTok have brought ABBA's music to younger audiences. Then there's the movies and the musicals. ABBA fans love the band and the music, but will they pay to see a digital recreation on stage instead of the real thing? This superfan who edits the group's magazine says you can't satisfy the hunger for ABBA, so yes.
If the holograms are realistic, I think that will draw people in.
Brilliant. Digital or no digital, as long as Dancing Queen comes back on, we're good.
They play Dancing Queen, everybody dances.
Yeah, every wedding there's
I'm
ABBA.
having that at my funeral.
If you change your mind.
ABBA famously broke up after both married couples in the band got divorced. Today, though, in a statement, all four spoke of their joy at this project and their friendship for each other. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
Okay, up next, a small act of kindness turns into an incredible meeting. A woman in Ottawa got quite the surprise thanks to the generosity of a construction worker she had never met before. We'll explain. Well, we all know small acts of kindness can have a huge impact on people, but just ask Deanna Devine about that. Her dad died in a construction accident on Parliament Hill 16 years ago. Every year since, the family's been visiting his memorial nearby. This year, though, they showed up and realized some major construction was happening on the hill. But once they got to the memorial, they saw there was nothing to worry about. It had been protected, encased in plexiglass, and Deanna reached out to the construction worker who built it to thank him personally. It is our moment.
Can I give you a hug?
Absolutely.
Forget the hand.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
No problem. I remember noting it when we were walking around the project, like, we need to make note of that. We need to stay away from that and respect it.
We had seen all this construction fencing, so I was worried that perhaps it had been taken away, but quite the opposite. It's like an encasement had been made around it to protect it. The fact that someone would take the time out of their day and do such a random act of kindness, my heart was so full, so full. When I walked around the corner that day, I was...
No, you definitely touched me on this, and your father being a fellow construction worker. I mean, it definitely hits home for us. It was more just glad that we protected this guy's memory and just made his family proud with what we did. It's very touching that something that small touched them and made that big of an impact.
Not so small, not so small. Timothy, is very gracious, and he says this wasn't just him, it was the whole team. They got together, they talked about it. They found some plexiglass from COVID construction, and they just did it together.
Yeah, well, and he says, I mean, the death of Deanna's father is well known among construction workers, and so this was an important memorial for them as well. That's The National for the September 2nd. Have a great night.
Good night.